Hello everyone. In this video we're going to be talking about the Armageddon Navy Issue, arguably one of the worst ships in EVE. So you might be wondering, why is this ship so bad? So there's a lot of factors causing this, but one of them is because well, for one, none of the Navy battleships have been rebalanced since about 2003. Meanwhile, its T1 competitors such as the Abaddon, the Apocalypse, the Navy Apocalypse, the T1 Armageddon, and the Baelgorn or Nightmare have all received buffs, have been made cheaper, or because they simply do the Armageddon Navy Issue's job better. The main issues with Armageddon Navy Issue are that it has poor fitting, a third of its damage is locked in behind heavy drones, so like if you look at its actual potential damage, it's around 1100 to 1200 DPS depending on what crystal you're using. But 300 DPS of that is from drones itself. So when you're looking at comparing it to other laser battleships, you need to look at the raw damage of the lasers themselves. So in the case of the Armageddon Navy Issue, it's only doing, 800, maybe 900 DPS with just its lasers. The rest of its damage is from drones, which, drones can be smart bombed, they can be killed. Heavy drones aren't great at chasing faster targets, and in a fleet scenario, you can't really rely on heavy drones, so you'd have to use like sentries. But then sentries come with their own issues, as they're static, they don't follow you, and they can be bombed. So overall, just its layout is not ideal in any situation. But past the drones, its traits also kind of cancel each other out. So you have its current traits are a 5% bonus to rate of fire per level and a 10% reduction to capacitor need for large energy weapons. So yes, you shoot faster, but because you're shooting faster, you're using more capacitor. And even though that reduction does help a lot, you're basically only shooting 3.5 guns worth of cap. You're just you're now shooting faster, so it kind of cancels each other out. So both bonuses kind of go against each other, and they don't really do anything unique to the ship. They're just kind of there. Another issue with it is just unbearably slow, and that's not necessarily the worst thing. It's an Amarr battleship. We expect them to be slow. That's fine. It's just in combination with everything else, it's just kind of another thing that prevents it from having any good rolls. And then just lacks a focus in its role. It's again, the traits cancel each other out. You think, okay, well, it's got a cap reduction bonus, let's put beams on it. Well, because of its poor fitting, you can't fit beams on it. Then you think, okay, well, maybe I could try kiting with it because it's got a utility high, so it could kind of be like the Amarr Tempest or Typhoon. Well, it's too slow, it can't do that either. And then its overall damage is just low because of most of its damage being, or a third of its damage being in drones. So in this video, what I'd like to talk about is changing the Armageddon Navy Issue to try to follow suit with the Augur Navy Issue, and also provide some progression with the T1 Armageddon. Not with the newt bonus, but just with the general flexibility of the hull itself. So I guess another thing to talk about is, why do we want to go this route with the Armageddon Navy Issue? Well, we want to give the Armageddon Navy Issue a niche to fill. And what I would imagine as a good transition is that if we have it follow the Augur Navy Issue's niche, is to just basically be a very tanky laser platform. In combination with this, it would lose one gun, so it would go from 7 guns to 6 guns, and you would have 2 utility highs. So it would be 8 highs, 6 guns, 2 utility highs, 4 mids, and then 7 lows. So now you have a lot of utility to work with. You could go with like dual heavy newts, or dual NOS, or even smart bombs, which could be useful in a fleet. And then you have this high armor buffer, so you're not able to just get alpha off the field. So these could be really good for like brawling comps. They could be good in wormholes potentially with the Wolf Rayet, where they get a really big EHP bonus for armor. So there's just a lot of different ways you could go about using them. I mean, you could even polarize them if you wanted, because the armor HP bonus actually synergizes really well with polarized fits. One additional thing I wanted to talk about was the +6 launcher slots. This kind of pays homage to the Tech 1 Armageddon with how flexible the hull is. So the main focus of the Armageddon Navy issue is going to be that armor HP bonus. So for people who want to have a little bit more utility or to switch things up, make the ship a little bit more unpredictable, they could fit it with missiles instead. And this also kind of goes along with a MAR secondary weapon system being missiles. You have like the cannon ships like Sacrilege and things like that that are also missile based. So even though it's not directly bonus to missiles, it gives you that option to fit them. And just gives you a lot more versatility with the hull. Now it's not really a priority or necessary to have these launchers. I just think it adds some extra flavor to the hull itself. So where we're going to start here is, this is going to be a little bit different because I've had to do a lot of overrides in PIFA. So what I've done is I've used the base stats from the Armageddon Navy issue and I've plugged them into the Augur Navy issue. So that way we can simulate the 10% armor hit point bonus, but with the Armageddon Navy issue stats. That way we can get a more realistic, example. For the damage, I have changed it to, again, 10% bonus to large energy weapon damage. So that would be basically what I've done is I've changed the Abaddon's damage bonus from 7.5% to 10%. Again, mainly just to give us an example of what this would all look like. So I'll be kind of jumping around a few different fits here and ships that have been modified, so just keep that in mind. I wish I could kind of put all these together just to make it more streamlined, to show a better example of the entire ship as a whole, but I can't really do that myself to modify PIFA to do that. So to start out here, I'm going to show off the Armageddon Navy issue in a T2 format. So again, this is the Augur Navy issue, and that's why it has 3 mids, and the highs, ignore that. We're only focused right now on the potential tank you could get out of it. So with just an all T2 fit, and with all active hardeners, so basically this is an entire tank setup, so there's no damage mods on it. You would be at 277,000 EHP with just a standard T2 fit. But so here's just again the T2 example, and then if we go to, this is basically the max bling example with high grade amulets. This is kind of what's the max potential tank you could get out of this. So with high grade amulets, X type active hardeners, dual Imperial Navy plates, and even a sentient damage control. I mean, you could abyssal this, probably get a little bit more, but just as an example, you get to 466,000 EHP. And then if you heat these, we get up to 570,000 EHP, which is really high for a battleship. But again, keep in mind this is a very slow battleship. With it fit like this with trimarks and plates, with an MWD on it, you're getting maybe 890 meters a second. So it's very slow, and with only 4 mids, it's limited in what it can do. For example, like MJD or micro warp drive, that's 2 mids. So now you only have 2 mids left. You're gonna basically have to have a cap booster, so that's your 3rd mid, and then your 4th mid is gonna be a wild card, depending on if it's like a fleet fit or whatever. It could be a sensor booster, or a tracking computer, whatever. So again, that does limit it and kind of abusing its mids for utility by keeping it at 4 mids. Now with this one, again, just to kind of try and get the maximum potential you could get out of this fit, if we go into a wormhole and go to a Wolf Rayet at class 5, you go to 815,000 EHP, and then when you heat your hardeners, we're at 1,000,000 EHP. So the other thing to keep in mind is that in a Wolf Rayet, small weapons are bonused, and this is going to be using large weapons, so it's going to be a really tanky ship, and you can bait with it, but it's not going to really be oppressive. And then the last example here, we can go with four 1600 plates. You get to 325,000 EHP. This is kind of the generic, you know, if you just want to max out the hit point value, you get to 325,000 EHP. The other thing I wanted to show here is that the standard fit will most likely be like 2 plates with resist mods and then 2 heat sinks. So if you don't go full tank and you just have 2 heat sinks, then you're about 243,000 EHP. So, you know, still high, but once you start factoring in damage mods and things like that, obviously the tank's going to go down, and 243 is probably where you're going to see a lot of these sit at once you factor in damage mods. And this is the Abaddon that's been modified to 10% damage per level, so the same as the Armageddon Navy issue. And I also modified the drone bay on it so we can still field the 5 heavy drones. So with conflag and dual heat sinks, with 5 heavy drones, in this case it's Ogre 2s, you're at 1,257 DPS. So you're still kind of running in that issue where, you know, a third of your DPS is drones, but you know that's fine because now you're actually getting a unique trait from the Armageddon Navy issue, which is that you have the armor hit point bonus. So it's not a big deal that your damage is split in that way, and it also opens it up to defanging the drones so you can mitigate some of the potential damage the ship can do. And your main weapon or laser damage is 940 DPS, but you do have an actual decent volley amount now compared to the rate of fire bonus Armageddon Navy issue. And then if we change these to multi-frequency, you're doing 733 laser DPS, and for a total of 1050 DPS. So as far as battleships go, it won't be very DPS intensive. And the other thing to keep in mind here is that this is with dual heat sinks. So if you use like this version, for example, well, you're not going to get the 500 or 400,000 EHP because you're going to have dual heat sinks, and so your damage will be, or your tank will be a lot lower. So that's just kind of something to keep in mind, is that you're not getting all this together. As soon as you start doing damage mods and working in a fairly standard tank, then your tank's going to drop more to like 250 to 300 or 400,000. So that's just something that I wanted you all to keep in mind when looking at these values, is that you're not going to be getting a 1 million EHP Armageddon Navy issue that also does 1200 DPS at the same time. Without any damage mods, you're normally at about 950 DPS with lasers and drones. So it's quite a significant damage drop if you don't have any actual damage mods on the ship. And that pretty much wraps it up for this video. It's gone on a little bit longer than I'd prefer. It's just this is a little different because this is a full rebalance on a ship and not just kind of tweaking some things. This is total trait rebalance, and also having to go through multiple variations of PIFA to try and show examples. But the Armageddon Navy issue and all Navy battleships in general really need a lot of attention. They're just old and they haven't been updated really at all. So hopefully, things like this can provide some insight and see if we can get some changes.